Okay, guys, let's start. It's already 30 minutes past today. So last week we a little bit covered about the producer theory. So basically, same as to consumer theory, producer theory is one of the very key part of microeconomics. So in order to understand the other topics related to microeconomics, for example, game theory, or different types of market, for example, competitive market, monopoly, oligopoly, like and other types of market, for example, monopolistic competition, you need to know both producer theory and consumer theory. So that's why mostly we cover these two topics first. So in the consumer theory, which is another side of microeconomics, so basically in the first side of microeconomics, we consider mostly about the consumer choice. And what is the basic philosophy for the consumer choice? To maximize what do we need to maximize for consumer? We need to maximize utility. We need to maximize utility. So basically, consumer is the demand side of the market. Is the demand side of the market. Mostly the demand side of the market, which are consumer, they try to maximize their utility. But in order to satisfy those demand, there should be another side in the market, which is production side or supply side. Production side or supply side. And who produce in the market? Firm. So our economic agenda in the case of consumer choice was consumer. But our economic agenda in the case of producer theory is the firm. So this firm try to produce something and supply that one to the market in order to satisfy the demand side of the market. So what firm do? Firm try to produce. So when we talk about the production side of the market, so there should be someone in the market to do something. And that's the firm, and the firm try to produce. They do the production activity. So what the firm do? The firm produces output. Why? By using input. By using input. For example, YO, which is output, by using input YI. So this O means output. This I means input. So by using some input, firm try to produce some output. And that output will be supplied in the market. And the thing is, when firm try to do the production activity in the market, to cover another side of the market, which is supply side, so firm also has its own goal. And what's that goal? Is to maximize what should be maximized for the firm side? Profit. So firm try to maximize the profit by combining some inputs and producing output and supplying that one to the market. Firm try to maximize profit. So each agent in the market, whether it's producer or consumer, they have their own specific goals. Because of achieving that specific goals, they do some economic activities. So in the next thing, when it comes to producer theory, as I said, we have output and we have input. Because in order to get something, we need to give something. So there is like a process of give and take. There's a give and take process. So in this give and take process, we give to the process input and take after some activity output. And we like use a notation for the output YJO. So here, Y is quantity. Y is quantity. J is the name of that product or the name of output. The name of that product or output. And O stands for output. O for output. And then this firm try to produce quantity of commodity J, and at the end we'll have some output. So then we have YJI, which is the quantity of commodity J, which will be used as an input. So again, this Y is quantity, and this J is the name of that factor or that input, and this I stands for input. This I stands for input. And finally, after that, we have like some production plan. We have some production plan, or we have some, we call it net output. Net output. So we have output. We have output, which this output is YJO. And we have input, which is YJI. We have YJ, or here ZJ, it doesn't matter, it's just a difference in notation. Either you can use ZJ or YJ. This YJ is net output. Net output. So if here YJO is greater than YJI, if YJO is greater than YJI, then our YJ will be greater than 0, and we will have positive net output. But if YJI is greater than YJO, then YJ is less than 0, and we will have negative net output. So it means the amount of input that we use is more than the amount of output that we get. So finally, the net is negative. So then, in the next step, when we try to like explain the production side of the market or producer theory, we need to have some production plan. And this production plan is a vector of net output and or input of all available commodities. So it means if we combine all input and output that we can get, so all of them can be called as a production plan. So then again, so either Z or Y, we can write it like this, same as your lecture note. This is Y, Y1, Y2, up to YL. Y1, Y2, up to YL. So in this vector of input or combination of input output, Y1 can be input. Y2 can be input. For example, here we may have Y6. Y6 can be output. and YL also can be out. So it doesn't matter how many types of input and output we have, but when we combine all of them together, what we will have? We will have production plan. So it means everything that we have in our strategy, in our idea, we make them together to see how many input we have, and by combining those input, how many output we have, and we put them all together in a vector, and we call that production plan. So here again, so it means the first H commodities are net inputs. For example, if we start, this is Y, we start from Y1 up to YH, then we have YL, Y1 up to YH, then up to YL. So mostly in order to not mix, we list our input first. We list our input first because the input is the things that we need first in order to have our output later on. So that's why from Y1 up to YH are inputs. From the first to up to the H1 is net inputs, or the inputs that we use. Then after that, L minus H here. From YH up to YL, they are like net output, or just output that we have. Here net inputs, but then we have outputs. So if, and mostly in order to make it easier, we assume we only have like 2 inputs and 1 output. In your lecture note might be you will have that one, minus x1, minus x2, and positive y. It means that we have only 2 inputs and we have only 1 output. So it's similar like that. So then we have production possibility set. Levi, what's production possibility set? Yeah. If you be busy, then I will ask a question more. Yeah. I mean, if you are busy with your computer. No. Oh, by the way, when we talk about production possibility set, as Levi said, all feasible production plan, if we combine all feasible production plan, then we will have a bigger things, which is that is production possibility set. For example, there's maybe one firm, it may have different types of products, even different branches. For example, suppose Samsung is a big company which it has different branches, different types of products, different goods and services that supply in the market. If we combine all of them together, which they are possibly like can be done by the Samsung company, then we call them as a production possibility set. And mostly we use a like capital letter notation for production possibility set. Either it can be a capital Z or a capital Y. For example, if we say this one, Y is a subset of RL, so RZ, the capital letter Z is a subset of RL. Both of them are production possibility set. So it means this production possibility set is a combination of different Y. For example, Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4. I mean the input one. So each of them is a production plan. Production plan 1, production plan 2, production plan 3, and production plan, suppose this is production plan L. When we combine all of them, we will have like everything together, and we will have production possibility set. So it means all vector of input and output. Each vector is a production plan. Each vector is a production plan. But when we combine all of them together, then we will have production possibility set. We will have production possibility set. So either Z or Y, whatever you use, just use a capital letter. Yeah.
In the production, always they are using the term how it's visible.
Yeah.
And we just change how the word is broadly just knowledgeable.
It means
they are always using this visible.
It's possible to do it. It means you are able to do that. So it's under your power. Like, for example, something is imaginary and it's out of your capacity, it's out of your ability, it's out of your budget, actually. And you cannot do that. It's something out of possibility. When we say technologically feasible, it means it's possible to do that. Yeah? For example, suppose Samsung want to produce everything in the world, but can do? No. Only that part that Samsung can do, we can say it's possible to do it. That's why we use that technologically feasible production plan. So technologically means it's sometimes when we say about technologically or technology, this technology means ability. It means we are able to do that. If we just explain in easier word. Technologically feasible, it means we are able to do that. So this is when we only have like, suppose one input, which is X, and one output, which is Y. And this Z or Y, which you use in your lecture note as a notation of Y. Z or Y, both of them is fine, just this production possibility set. So it means all the things that you have here, they are in your production possibility set. And this is a combination of input and output. But here we only consider one input and one output. Why? Because easier to plot in the graph. Although in reality, we have many inputs. And we have, like in the same company, we have several outputs. But when we try to draw in the graph, so it will be very hard. For example, just suppose 3 inputs and 2 outputs. Then we need the graph of 5-dimensional graph. Can we draw? No, not in the like in the board. So that's why in order to explain it easier, for example, we assume the Z1 is our X, which is input, and Z2, which is our Y, which is output. So as you see, this is the positive side, this is positive, this is negative, and this is negative. So why this one is in the negative side of X? Because we usually use the notation of negative for the inputs. Because the inputs is going to change during the production process. That's why we need the sign of negative. As I said before, in the production process, we have give and take. What we give to the production process, we use sign of negative. What we take from the production process, we use a sign of positive. And what we give in the production process, it's our input. And what we take from the production process, it's our output. We give input, and we take output after like some procedure, or then here.
I mean, like, if we come from the frontier of possibility,
Yeah.
I mean, from this, if we start to come down,
Yeah.
what kind of interpretation in terms of output?
Here.
No, not this side.
This side.
From the line, yeah, from the line of process, because
Yeah, you can come here. Show me. I didn't get that.
the question is,
Yeah.
if we from, because this is a frontier of possibility.
Yeah.
So if, for example, we have a point, for example, here,
Mm-hmm.
and from here
Yeah.
to others point just come like down, down, and down.
Uh-huh.
What kind of interpretation we can say, like in terms of input of output? Because we know you just explain this part is kind of all the combination of
Yeah.
input and
Oh, yeah, I
output.
got it now. Yeah. I got it now.
We are asked that because you mentioned that we use minus x because the input is going to change during the process of production.
Yeah.
But we know this part is kind of full minus, so like because output is y is positive, but input is negative. So if we from there.
Okay, let me give you like a very broader explanation about that. So basically, when we see just this side, starting from here up to here, this side, we can say there are three areas. We can say there are three areas. Area of A, for example, every area less than this frontier line. And this, we have another area, which is B, every point on the frontier line. Every point on the frontier line. And then we have area of C, which is above the frontier line. We have three areas: above the frontier line, on the frontier line, and less than the frontier line. So, based on the definition of production possibility set, above the frontier line is not feasible, it's not possible. So this C is out of our set because it's out of the possibility set. Every point on the line we can say later on technologically efficient production plan. Technologically efficient production plan. Why we said technologically efficient production plan? Because in this point, we get the most that we can from our input. So more than that, we cannot get. For example, if you use, suppose that one is, for example, 3. You give 3 input in your production process, and you will get, for example, this one, your X is 3, and your Y is suppose 5. Your Y is suppose 5. So then, by giving 3 inputs, you cannot get 6 output. Why? Because 6 is above the frontier line. It's out of your ability. It's not possible. But 5 is the most efficient output that you can get. You cannot get more than that, but you can get less than that. For example, by giving 3 input, you can get only 2 output, which is this point. For example, this is A prime. and this point is your B prime. So B prime is technologically efficient. It means you can get the most that you can do it. And then your A prime is inefficient. Why inefficient? Because by having 3 input, you could produce 5 output. But now, how many did you produce? How many did you produce? 2. You could produce 5, which is 5 is your technologically efficient plan, which is the most that you can get. You can get less, but not more, because more is out of your possibility. You can get less because if you, for example, by what kind of example I can give?
It's clear.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Yeah.
So this area is inefficient. On the line is efficient. Out of line is impossible.
Just explain.
Mm-hmm.
Just explain because if you are under the, what you call it, the possibility.
Yeah.
You are inefficient.
Yeah.
So this efficiency is a kind of equilibrium. Is it right if I say something? To be on the line.
Yeah.
It's kind of equilibrium because actually we just took point B prime.
Mm-hmm.
But just in the example, we just say put input,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have, for example, output.
Yeah.
But if the point is frontier,
Yeah.
isn't it like the same input we produce the same output?
No, it's not like that.
It's not like that.
It's not like that. It means by having some input, we can produce the most level of output that it's possible. For example, so let me give you a clear example of.
Because in my mind, just say if you are in the frontier means we cannot go there after. So I understand the point.
Yeah.
But my question is on the line, how the input and output are. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. So let me give you a example. For example, we produce a birthday cake. For this birthday cake, suppose we need cheese. Yeah, we need cheese. One of the elements. Suppose one of the elements. So then cake. So then cheese is input, and cake is our output. So although we have some other input as well. So because in order to draw in the same curve, we just assume one input and one out. For example, we will try to produce one cake, which the weight of this cake is 1 kilogram. Is 1 kilogram. And for producing 1 kilogram cake, we need some input, which is that is cheese. Suppose that for 1 kilogram cake, we can use 5 gram cheese. 5 gram cheese. If the highest level of output that we can get from 5-gram cheese is 1 kilogram cake, then we can say this is technologically efficient. But if by having 500-gram cheese, we can produce, for example, 1.5 kilogram cake as well, so then there's two things possible. By having or by giving 500-gram cheese in the production process, we can produce 1 kilogram cake and we can produce 1.5 kilogram cake. If I ask you which one is more efficient, 1.5 or 1? Because you have more output and you can get more money. So then, if this is possible, then we can say when we produce 500 gram, when we give 500 gram and we get 1 kilogram cake, this is not efficient. But if we get 1.5 kilogram, this is efficient. But if more than that is not possible, it means the highest level of cake or the highest amount of cake that we can produce by having 500 gram cheese is 1.5 kilogram and we cannot produce more than that, then we can say 1.5 kilogram is technologically efficient. It means 1.5 is located here. This is 1.5 and this is 500 gram cheese and this is 1 kilogram.
Actually, but if you take this rate, I think that's all the production which is said should be just first quarter. And if I'm not in,
Which, how?
I mean, production possibility set like this side, right side.
That side?
Yeah.
No,
Right.
it's not like that.
I check it. All the production possibility set. We can divide the first quarter, second, third, and fourth.
No. This is different. This is production possibility frontier. It's not set. Production possibility frontier. It's in your lecture note. You can go back and check your lecture note. Can you give me your notebook? From the last week, not this week. From the last week. It's different. You see, this is your lecture note. This is your lecture note. And this is production possibility set. This is different. It's production possibility frontier. So, yeah, did you get?
That's mean on the possibility frontier,
Yeah.
efficiency frontier, we can have the maximum of output that
Yeah.
an input can.
This is the maximum point is like we can say technologically efficient.
Because we are under the line,
Yeah.
the input that we will use can still produce something.
Yeah.
But it won't be, it will produce something because we are under the possibility frontier. So it can exist, the production can exist.
Yeah.
But it will be at the maximum level. It will be technologically efficient.
Yeah.
When we reach the line.
The line.
So the line, like at this time, the place where they are the most efficient.
Yes.
Yeah, it means this is, yeah, as you said, yeah, clearly. This is the maximum level that we can get, or the highest level that we can get. So, Urinbai, there's two different things. We have one curve, it shows the combination of inputs. And we have another curve, which shows the combination of input and outputs. So now, let me ask you this question. Which one is production possibility frontier, and which one is production possibility set?